Generally in the paranormal, we're hunting ghosts, right? What are ghosts? Dead people? Are they aliens? Are they interdimensional travelers? We do not know what this spirit energy that we call ghosts really is. We can sometimes with a lot of confidence say that we do know. And if you're somebody that enjoys paranormal investigating, you use a lot of tools and equipment, and perhaps you want to get a little bit past those communication focused techniques, I want to share with you the 3 pieces of equipment that I built to work together in order to explore more of the energy that we're maybe assuming is ghosts. Now, while there really is nothing truly based in science in the paranormal, because it is beyond our normal scope of provable or even testable scientific theory, there are ways that we're able to approach it in a more well-rounded and objective way, even though it's essentially a purely subjective field. So one of the most popular pieces of equipment is the proximity sensor. You may or may not recognize the crystal pod, a proximity sensor that I built, adorn it with crystals. It detects anything within its proximity and gives us an indication that something might be near. This is really prone to false positives. Radio waves, your cell phone, a lot of things, even in your equipment bag, can set this off, giving us the idea that something's present when it's a completely explainable scenario. So I like to bring in a couple more pieces of equipment that, though wouldn't give me definitive proof by any means, but it would give me some much more interesting data. One of the first steps I used was working backwards. What sort of things emit EMF along a wide range of the electromagnetic spectrum, but can't be triggered by something as volatile as a two-way radio or radio waves? So we want to think of something that has a precursor to electromagnetic radiation. And then I had a jolt of an epiphany. Or was it lightning? It was definitely lightning. So lightning is a natural phenomena that has this really interesting allure because we don't actually know the specific environment in which lightning is created. We know it's created inside clouds. We know why lightning is created because it's a form of static electricity discharge. I don't think ghosts are lightning in any way, shape, or form, but static is a really interesting way that the discharge does emit that electromagnetic burst, but static itself is not on the electromagnetic spectrum. So why not use a piece of equipment that detects static? Because if I can detect static and then my electromagnetic sensitive device also goes off at the same time, I know that the discharge that set off my equipment wasn't a rogue radio wave. Now, me as a human being, I can generate a static buildup in my body and discharge it by touching something that also is a conductor. So that's where the seer comes in. This is a piece of equipment that detects ambient static electricity in the air, and it also flashes when that static discharges. I'll show you an example using a Van de Graaff generator, which is a manual generator that creates static electricity and discharge. Why do these things together create such interesting data? If you're at a paranormal location, you have your proximity sensor and your seer set up together, and you see the seer go off and your proximity sensor beeps, that wasn't a two-way radio. Am I saying it was a ghost? No, I'm not. Am I saying it's really interesting? Yes. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's in a lightning storm and it's right above the location, it was probably lightning. That's still really cool though. So how can we find a way that maybe we can also bring a observable piece of equipment into this equation to maybe counteract that outside influence, like if you're in a lightning storm? Well, the way that static discharge is created, something has to move. So we have to have some sort of kinetic energy within the space. If we put our tinfoil hats on, that could be anything from an entity walking around the space that has any sort of mass that could create static electricity. Or you want to get real weird, maybe it's a rip in space-time. Maybe it's an invisible alien, interdimensional visitor from beyond the veil. Again, we're hunting for ghosts. We gotta get a little weird sometimes. But if we have something that can also detect that kinetic energy or that movement, and we have a trigger on a motion device, we have a trigger on our seer device, and our proximity sensor goes off, that's even a scenario that's unbelievable to me. But who cares? Why not create it and see what happens? Now, there are a lot of different motion sensing devices. You have things like passive infrared that's really, really popular. That's going to be any motion sensing device that you see this little honeycomb sphere on the front of it. You also have ultrasonic motion sensing, which uses sound, like echolocation in a bat. That's going to look something like this on the front of a device. It might look like a little speaker, but it also might be concealed. This is so ultrasonic sound can be thrown out into a space, and when it bounces back, the device measures how far away whatever is in front of it is. So if something in front of it moves, or if that distance changes, it registers that change and sets off the device. And then we also have microwave motion sensor, which uses microwaves like Doppler radar on the Weather Channel to sort of map out the space with these fast and consistent pulses of microwave radiation. And when something in that map changes, it triggers the device, and you get the nova. Now, something fun about the nova is that I wanted to also be able to document visually what might be setting this off. So I added a 250 lumen light bulb, because why not? So when you have your nova, not only do you look like a time traveler, when this device is set off, it can cast shadows in your space, and you might be able to visually document a change in the space of what might be setting off your nova, maybe your seer, and hopefully your proximity sensor. Now again, if that ever happened, I don't know, I would probably lose my mind and disappear forever. Will it make your investigating a little more boring sometimes? Maybe, because you probably won't get all of those factors, let alone every time you investigate. But if you did this for 50 years and it happened one time, would that not be worth it? For me, it would be. That's why I built the Ethereal Eye bundle. 3 pieces that work together in a really cool way to maybe one day give you a piece of data that's kind of mind-blowing. I try to make everything really affordable. I do have payment plans, but let me know if you'd like to investigate with these. And if you do, they're for sale on my website. And always, at the end of the day, whatever equipment that you're using, do some research. Try to figure out how it works both in the paranormal, but also outside of the paranormal. Because really, when it comes down to it, how do you know it works if you don't know how it works? Keep exploring, keep investigating, and always question everything.